Welcome to New Realities. My name is Alan Steinfeld. And on this show, if you've been watching it, you know it's a series of ongoing investigations into our human potential, who we are as evolving spiritual beings. And part of that has to do with our essential equipment, the voice. So I met this amazing woman, Lynn, who's been training people and me a little bit on how to use the power of our voice to create more of what we want and who we are. Thank you, Lynn, for being here.
That was great.
Good. Did I do okay?
Yeah, you did great.
Okay, all those lessons are paying off. You know, I do like studying with you because you make me aware of habits of speaking that are just unconscious. So the whole idea is to be more conscious, right? So you say, did you see how you said that word? Where is your tongue? You know, the whole thing you go through when you're teaching people to speak correctly is really about consciousness. Talk about your work and what you're listening for when you're working with people.
What I'm listening for when I'm working with them, if they have a connection to their voice, first of all.
Oh. Okay, what does that mean, actually?
Well, some people, I mean, they'll talk like that. They'll really cover their voice up and they'll pull back.
Wow.
Or they'll talk like this. You know, they're very high, they're very low. They'll mask. They'll strangulate themselves in the way in which they use their voice.
But they don't even know they're doing it.
Many times they do. They know something's wrong, but they don't know what's wrong. And they sometimes are clear enough or strong enough to call someone and say, I know something's wrong, will you help me? But sometimes they're intimidated by that, and some people don't want to know. They know something's wrong, but they don't want to know.
But they're doing that because there's something emotional in the... I mean, people do things because they make up for some maybe inadequacies or some fears or some...
But it's also what they heard.
Right.
What they heard, Mama and Papa and teachers and other students, and where you're from. Where you're from has a lot to do with it, you know?
I mean, I knew there was something I could do more for my voice, and you're...
Like lowering it, and like working on your New York accent.
Right, and
which we're doing. You know, I had a wonderful... singing teacher who's a dear friend. She's a channeler also, who you've met, Jeanette Lavetry. And she used to talk about the voice being spirit in action, sound in action. And I think the sound of our voice, and sound in general, is maybe the most powerful thing in the world. The music of the spheres, the connection, you know, that hum that's supposed to... Someone actually said to me today that there is a sound at the center of every cell. I had never heard that. That was amazing.
So the world is made of vibration, and the voices are way of vibrating.
Yes, and I think it's 3 times more powerful than anything else we have.
The voice.
The voice. In the music of the spheres, in the beginning was the word. I mean, we have this thing in us that can transform us and that can transform how we're in the world, how we are with each other.
So it's not just about accents. It's like, how do we find that power? How? Where?
My number is. We find the power by starting to look for it, starting to breathe, okay? We did a lot of work on breathing. The breath is the royal road to the unconscious, the subconscious, the imagination, and to the voice.
Oh, right. So you would say breathe while you're speaking.
Yeah, always.
Because if you're not breathing while you're speaking...
You're cutting off yourself, and you're cutting off your sound. The breath is the connection to your emotions and to deeper parts. I mean, every spiritual practice has breathing practices, right? Don't we all know that?
Right, of course. So the spirit and voice, I mean, the spirit comes through the voice when it's allowed to.
And when it's alive, you know, when we're alive with our voice, our spirit comes out of us.
How do we go back to some organic sense of ourselves so these things that are really natural to us
Okay,
manifest?
so here would be a daily practice.
Okay.
First of all, you have to recognize that you need a daily practice, you know. and that maybe there's something that needs to be done with your voice, right? And then you start working on your breath. And you start allowing yourself to really feel where the breath is and where it isn't. If you're holding in your throat, for instance, if your jaw is locked, if your tongue is locked.
So you notice your own body's contraction, but that takes a level of self-awareness.
It takes work.
Yeah.
It takes a discipline of starting to work with something and somebody. And it's hard to do this alone. People have books out, they have tapes out.
Because we don't know what we don't know about ourselves.
Right, and it's very hard to look into your own defense system by yourself. Unless you're a mystic. You know, unless you're absolutely brilliant at and being aware of or willing to look at all the shadow pieces.
But it's like a fish in water doesn't know it's even in water because we are just who we think we are. So
if we start with the breathing, and then we have to work on language. So the sound of your voice needs to get clarified, bring up the beauty, bring up the strength, the power. Many people are very frightened of their own power. And the voice means to stand up and say, this is who I am, this is how I talk about it. To mean what you say and say what you mean is very scary for many people.
I think that's a really major point, at least for me, to embody the power that I have and are willing to stand for. Good. I'm going to use, that is
it's
really,
true.
that little piece is great
really
for
powerful.
me. And so when we do that, we're more present. We have to take more responsibility for ourselves instead of hiding. So people hide behind their voices.
Absolutely.
Another part of the power of words is what you distinguish between consonants and vowels.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Because the vowels, you say, carry the emotion and
the music.
And the consonants are the intent.
And the meaning.
So we
need, and that's the male-female.
Right. And we need to hear both.
We need to hear both. And most people, either their vowels are more meaningful or their consonants are more meaningful.
Either they're more emotional or mental in that sense.
Yeah. But to get them in order and to really use them, you have to really, it's muscularity. It's the muscularity of the tongue. Now, for the vowels, you're using the bulge of your tongue. You're just using, there's high front vowels and high back vowels. But the consonants move. They move into different places. They touch. Then there's vibration in the vocal cords. Rudolf Steiner wrote a book called Speech and Drama, and he talked about each vowel at the bottom had a particular weight and feeling. But I think most people don't know how to use the vowels to feel that bottom. And if we did, it would just transform us.
See, this is what I love about your work, because you have the hardcore disciplines, the actual making the sounds and with the tongue.
The technical stuff.
Right, and then you have the higher spiritual understanding of what that means.
It's so powerful to us.
And so it's a great holistic program for people wanting to develop a spirit through their voice.
Yeah, and to also connect more fully to who they are, to their power, and to the beauty of language and poetry. When I love memorizing poetry, just so that I can feel the poet in me, and it feels like a God's voice is going through me. In Shakespeare, when you really allow yourself to go into a line of poetry and really use the vowels and the consonants and the poetic values, the onomatopoeia, the alliteration, the assonance, a whole other person comes out.
You know, there is this higher spiritual level that people are bringing into the arts, and that's another
We
aspect.
lost it during the Renaissance. It became very humanistic around that time.
It became human and not divine.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the Greeks and the Egyptians and all the earlier artists and the artwork, it was all about the divine.
But we needed that level of development.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now we're at this time.
We needed Leonardo.
Right, but we're at a time now where we're coming back full circle, where we take everything from the humanistic values and bring it back home.
We're evolving.
I think so. And so, how can we take this power of the voice into the next level of evolution?
What a great question,
It
Alan.
just came to me.
By bringing it into the study for children. By really, I never studied this, you know. I had to make it up. I didn't study it until, and now the actors don't really study it. Many of the actors that I work with, you have to sort of move them into it. But if you hear the young actors today, most of them aren't working on their voice and diction as they used to. And I think to train children with their voice and with language and with power, the children are learning more languages. They definitely are being taught more languages, but they're not being taught the power of the language.
I mean, just the thing you said before about breathing when speaking, what does that do? I mean,
if you're not breathing when you're talking,
yes,
you're cutting off your own life force. And so the words become very hollow. And they become...
don't deliver.
Well, it just becomes about your brain.
But people aren't getting it because we're not extending our breath towards them.
Right. We're not extending our breath towards them, but we're not extending who we are to them. When you breathe in, you take in the world. When you breathe out, you give yourself out. And if you breathe out through your voice and language, you're really giving yourself to the world. Otherwise, it's very mental. It stays here and here.
Well, you've talked about the great actors who have done this. I mean, like Richard Burton you love. Now, why do you love Richard Burton, or did love him?
I heard him when I was very young. And I think he was one of the people that woke me up to myself. He just had a connection to that amazing voice and language that at the time, it wasn't just the British. You know, many British actors were studying, right?
Right. Laurence Olivier, John Gielgud, those classic actors.
They were studying, and they had beautiful voices, but he was embodying it in a different way. And Philip Burton, his mentor, whose name he took, was teaching him some secrets.
Oh, really? And you teach those secrets?
I have been given those secrets, and it came as a great gift.
What are can you tell us, can you share some of those secrets with us?
It's the secrets of language. And one of them is about rhetoric, which at the time of Shakespeare was very popular. But it's what words in every line really give the meaning of the line.
The key words.
The key words for the meaning of the line. It's so important, and most people just emphasize the words that sound or feel good to them.
Right.
They're not thinking about it really traveling to their audience. And that was something that Burton did that was so special. Because to me, the bottom line is beauty, power, and eloquence. Mean what you say what you mean in the most eloquent way you can.
And it will have the most powerful effect.
Absolutely. And it will pull people in. And I have a new student who is French. So I was working with him on the tiny connections that he was doing incorrectly. And he said to me, I'm reminded of listening to Gielgud, Sir John Gielgud. He said, and there was nothing superfluous in any of his words.
Should I tell you a poem, a Shakespeare line? A couple of lines?
Are we gonna do some work?
Okay, should we do some work? Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, are you ready?
Okay, I'll do...
oh, wow.
Should I do something?
Why not?
I'll do Macbeth.
Oh, all right.
I mean, just that line from Macbeth, those couple of lines.
Which line? Okay.
Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in its petty pace from day to day to the last syllables of recorded time. Tomorrow
and tomorrow and tomorrow.
Right.
First line.
Right.
So what do we do with that? How do we make the tomorrows different?
Okay.
And what is the vowel that's important. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. Do you feel how that
I like how you did
Do you
that.
feel how that it's just endless, right? Because of the way that ah sound gets really long and drudgery. The drudgery starts, right?
Beautiful.
So we have to move. So it's always about moving out also for every line. You've got to move the line to the audience. You can't keep it here. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow.
Right.
It's got to move out.
That is brilliant. You're a great analyzer of speech as well.
Well, I've been doing this a long time, and I studied it, and I heard something very young.
Yeah.
I heard something very young.
What?
I don't know. I can't name it.
You heard. Lynn was also featured recently in the New York Times about New York and their accents, and she has one of her students, Lauren, with her, who was also featured in that article. And what I loved about your work with Lynn is your voice, how it was, and what it is. I mean, right? I mean, you had quite a heavy New York accent, didn't you?
Yes, and you know, as I moved away from where I grew up, it started to diminish. And
Howard Beach.
Yes, from Howard Beach, Queens.
And how did you sound there?
I used to talk a little bit like this.
You talk a little bit.
I talk like this, and then, you know, as you develop and you become a different person, your voice changes. But there's so many things you're still holding on to, and I think Lynn wastes no time in pointing out exactly what it is about your voice, which is connected to who you are and how you feel about yourself, and what's you're holding on to, and she helps you release that so you can truly be the person you are.
I think I would say the opposite, that when you discover the power of your voice, it changes you.
Yes.
You change who you are when you discover the power of what you have.
Wait, but the other thing you said is we have stuff in the way of knowing who we are.
Yeah.
And how do you? What was your process of realizing what was in the way and that was part of your voice?
I knew that there was something about my voice that was holding me back, and Lynn was the first person to say yes. It is. Yes.
She was ready, and I think I said to her something like, "You're not here for free," or.
Everyone grows up and they talk a certain way, and that's who they think they are, like we said. And then she's showing you that's not who you really are. So what came up for you specifically, if you want to share?
Well, I think a powerful example was when I was working on my first solo show called Queen's Girl, which was all about coming from where I was and developing into this independent artist. And that in itself, like working on certain sections of it, was just, there were certain words I wasn't pronouncing and certain ways I wasn't holding the language and the power of what I was doing. And I think Lynn really insisted that I do that. And there were some sessions and sounds we would work on, and it would be very emotional, because it was like, I'm like, wow, it's just a word I'm pronouncing differently, but it was like, wow, this is an identity that I'm taking on.
Like what word would that be?
Well, I mean, like the like pat, like saying the thing pat, cat, saying that
Cat,
with that
cat,
cat, pat, you know, and
Pat the cat.
And that is not a person. Now when people meet me, I think because I knew subconsciously that it was going to change the way people perceived me in the world, and now people don't know I'm from New York. They don't know where I'm from.
So you lose your identity in a way, and your old identity, your false.
Well, I gain the identity of the person who I truly am, and people take me for what I'm saying and for what I'm.
We want a bigger pool.
Yeah.
The people that I usually work with, and I know this from myself, I wanted a bigger pool. Some people come to me and say, well, I'm from Texas, and well, that's all you'll do. If that's all you want, I can perfect your Texas accent. But what I wanted, and what Lauren wanted, and most of my students want, is a bigger pool. They want to come from everywhere. They want to be able to go anywhere and work with any English-speaking people from any country and sound like they are home there. And the more you... I think of a heavy accent as a defense.
Yeah.
It keeps you in that smaller pool.
But it's unconscious. I mean, you grow up that way.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess that's also a defense. keeping your
hear
small
it.
town identity.
But also have the courage to and the skills to approach larger projects. And there was a film that I was cast for, When Harry Tries to Marry. I would have never had the qualifications because my voice would have held me back. So it enabled me to enter into that world different way. And now I'm working on another solo show project about, I don't want to release the name, but it's about a famous actress from the 1930s. And first of all, the skills to be able to hold the power of her voice and be able
her
to
personality.
and
She's
also
a huge personality,
and be able to, and to approach and also to feel that I can do it, because once you inhabit the power,
and she did. I said to her after the first couple of times we worked on her, "You're now really becoming an actress."
Yes.
There was a day where it was like she just, because she could hold without the fear, without racing over things.
But there was also, talking about this releasing, there was a point when I was studying with you when you said, did this little meditation, and you brought me back to when I was a child, and there was something about I was holding back in my voice.
You did a visualization.
Right. And you said, what is that that's holding you back? I didn't talk really a lot till I was 4, and I kept being yelled at for not talking, and somehow I held back part of my voice from that. And then you said in the visualization, okay, what is it now that you need to do? And it came to me to sing, to express, to allow the voice.
Really loud up.
Right.
Right.
And that was a release for me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think it's important to know what the issues are, and it's important to know where your strengths are. Both sides need to be dealt with. It's like in acting work, and I said this with my beginning acting classes and my beginning voice classes, that there are certain things you can bring into the room in the beginning. When you go further, when you're in more advanced place, then then we can deal with more troublesome pieces of your psyche and your personality, because you want to have everything you are to bring to those characters.
Yep.
I mean, that's, look at the great actors that we know that are, with seemingly nothing, they are so fully present.
And that's what you find.
And
that's what she wants.
That's what she is.
That's what she's working with.
Yeah, and I think that I've had moments of, and it's amazing how much when you start studying, you think, okay, a few classes, and then you realize how many mountains you have to go, and then you start to feel, well, am I ever going to get there? And you realize, well, it's always a journey, because you can always get better.
That's true. Even the best actors probably feel that. But just to hear how far you have come, like talking that old talk.
Well, talk. So I talk in my old accent.
And you didn't even know you had that, right?
Well, no, of course not. Someone's like, you talk like you're on 33rd Street. I said, what? No, I'm speaking. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
And that's how everyone in Howard.
And then when I went to college at Wesleyan, no one there spoke like that, and so I became kind of the party trick. It was like,
go ahead, talk.
Lauren, can I say water? I'd be like, water. What?
Water.
But I'm interested in that shift in your psyche when you realize that wasn't who you are, and this is who you could be. That
She went to a very important school from Howard Beach, and it was like, do I want the world or not? I'm sorry, I'm speaking for you, but that's how I interpreted it. Do I want this bigger world, or do I want to stay here in this smaller world?
And very interesting, a few people I knew who came from like the boroughs of New York, from working class neighborhoods, they quit. They quit.
Class.
No, they quit school. They left Wesleyan because they didn't. And I clearly saw the path before me. I could have gone down a road of staying in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Other people that went to the college.
Yeah, other people
They just left the college and went back to the neighborhood.
Yes, absolutely.
Because they couldn't deal with change.
They couldn't deal with the change.
They didn't want to be different.
Yeah, they didn't want to be and be challenged in that way and discover who they are and what they like and what they don't like and about where they are. And
And you wanted something more for yourself.
And I remember it was like a distinct path, and it was like very clear. I could have went down this road.
You saw it.
Yeah, I saw the path, and where I could change. And when I decided that I liked where I was going to college and I wanted to fit in, my accent changed.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's beautiful. And
Thank you.
how do you hear the old way? Because you go back into it so naturally.
Yeah.
Do you actually hear what you're, I mean, are you doing something internally? Are you going back in your memories to those old places?
You haven't gotten to that place
No,
yet
I
with your accent, and you'll be able to do it also.
I could?
Absolutely.
You don't have to talk
I mean,
like
I can always go back to
Yeah.
my Jewish grandmother from the
Yeah.
Ravens, my Russian grandmother.
Is that where I'm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I can always
I'm
talk
not
like
at that
Yeah.
place. How can I be at that place, Lynn? Help me.
You need a few more
keep
months.
doing the
You need a few
exercises.
more months, yeah.
Okay.
But
Well-
you also need to leave it. You need to mentally leave it.
Okay, I'm leaving it. I'm going
Yeah.
beyond.
No, but that means for you to listen to some more actors or speakers who, you know, I listened and listened until, I mean, blue in the face to really incredible Shakespearean actors and speakers. I mean, listen to Winston Churchill, listen to whoever inspires you, but listen to the
James Earl Jones.
Well,
What were you going to say?
James
Lauren?
Earl Jones is another species.
I know,
Yeah.
but what were you
He's
going to say?
amazing.
say?
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Well, I was gonna say, what excites me too about like continuing to work with Lynn and hounding my skills is the possibilities. Is that I feel like I'm more of a blank slate, and then when I become a character, I can get very specific down to the rhythm and the emphasis of the words and why they emphasize a word and what's the history of that and where they get that certain accent. And it's easier now to almost put on a New York accent when you know enough about the mouth and how it works and sound,
And when you're away from it,
and when you're away from it too, that helps.
when it's not so stuck to your own cells, right?
Exactly. It's like ungluing yourself so you can become the actor that can do anything.
We're going to come back in a couple of months, and we're going to see
What's
the
the difference?
It's going to be a new
very
Alan
good.
Steinfeld.
Okay.
All right, we're going to need more. I think
What?
maybe a little bit more than a couple of months.
Okay. Thanks.
Everybody.
It takes. And that's what
Everybody,
I thought.
how long
I
have you
asked-
been studying?
I remember like after 3 months,
She's-
I was like, oh, it's going to be
It's
done.
been a year and a half.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But tell people how to get in touch with you, because I think that would be really.
lsvoiceworks.com.
And LaurenLogiudice.com.
And thank you for watching New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and if you want to reach me, email me at newrealities@earthlink.net and my website, newrealities.com. Thanks for watching.